Welcome back to Real Talk Twin Cities. I'm Eric Pirius with Bell Mortgage, along with Cheryl Kempenek and Donald Quanrud, both of Coldwell Banker Burnett. We are here Saturdays, 4 o'clock, AM 1280 The Patriot, Sundays at 6 a.m. on AM 1570, the Wall Street Business Network. We would love to help you buy, sell, or refinance. We are your compatriots, local experts, all things real estate. Coming up in this segment, we are going to debunk 9 real estate myths that need debunking. Right, Cheryl?
That's right. We're the debunkers.
We are the debunkers. And talk about an update on the ongoing saga of the Tangle and Tangletown. Also some interesting information on foreclosures, how they've changed over time, and potentially debunk some myths that may still be, or I guess some misinformation perhaps. So speaking of foreclosures, they are down 66% from their peak. However,
Thank God for that.
Right. During the 12 months ended just this past December, they were the lowest recorded in the U.S. Since November of 2007. So the total number of completed repossessions during that period was 563,000. It was the 34th straight month to post a decline in foreclosures. So last year there were 39,000, which is a 13% decline from December of 2013, and again a 66% decline from the peak. So that's quite a drop. I know that when people go shopping for homes, they everybody talks about foreclosures or getting a good deal, stealing a deal, that kind of thing. Just for some more local perspective, 0.5% of the current inventory in Minnesota are foreclosures, and the other states, for example, New York is 4, Nevada's 2.5. Many states are 1.5 or 2. We're on the low end of the scale with 0.5% of the market. So what about that? Can we still get a good deal with foreclosures? I mean, I've heard that if why not? You can steal a deal, fix it up a little, and it's instant equity.
That really isn't happening anymore. No,
What do you mean?
No. We need to debunk that. Donna, do you remember when 60% of our sales were either bank-owned or short sales?
Yes.
What a crazy time. I'm so glad that's
Yeah.
over. But for example, yesterday I was out with a client. We looked at 3 properties. All 3 were within $10,000 of each other. The bank-owned property was right in the middle. It wasn't the cheapest one. The banks are now looking at real estate, these foreclosures, as an investment. They want to take these back. They'll improve them. They want that profit. Why should they just give that out to the new homeowner?
So you're saying, just to be clear, you're saying they want it back. In other words, they don't particularly want to do a short sale. They want to go through the foreclosure process, get it back so they can make more money.
I have not been successful with a short sale in, probably close to a year, where it used to be you could just get in there, you knew the routine, you could go through all the motions, and it would be done. And now the banks are just not giving approval. So in most cases, I'm not saying that it never happens and that none of them come together, but boy, you better not be emotionally attached to that property.
It's not for the faint of heart, because
No.
you can wait months and months and months and months, and the answer could be no, or they could counter you to a higher purchase price, which throws you out.
Well, and that's the thing with the list price that you see on the MLS. If it's a short sale, that doesn't mean that's the price that the bank has approved.
That's right.
You don't find out what the bank's bottom line is until you go through and get an offer submitted and accepted.
Right. A couple of weeks ago, well, I guess 3 weeks ago now, I approved someone in Minnetonka for a nice place. Close to 500 is what I would think it would normally go for, and it was listed at 340. And when the guy called me, I said, yeah, maybe this is the bank lowballing to get a bunch of offers. And he said, well, no, I don't think so. Anyway, turns out that's exactly right. So they got all kinds of attention, and within 3 or 4 days, it was, okay, highest and best. Meaning,
That's right.
so they,
And then it's still selling for close to market value.
yeah, I think it was low 4s.
Right.
Because it needed some work. So what I'm hearing from, what about, okay, forget about short sales then, what about foreclosures? I mean, we
Well,
still get a
that's-
deal there, right? I mean,
No, not at all. Because
Huh.
even with the bank owned, they're priced very competitively. Where I'm actually seeing the best deals is the buyers that purchased, like in 2011, and 12 when the prices were super low.
Mhm.
And now those people are selling. They don't care what the market value is today. What they're looking at is how much equity they have in there. And if they want to move, they're the ones that are impacting our market and bringing it down because they're pulling out $40, $50, $60,000 and they're just moving on to the next place.
They're upgrading
Right. So those are really the best deals that I'm seeing
Yeah.
from those.
because they've got some room to wiggle.
Right.
And the banks have taken the shorts for long enough, when
Right.
when it first started happening, it was all new to everybody.
Right.
Their foreclosure department was staffed by one or two people because and they hired like crazy and developed systems as they went and on the fly, and that's when you could really take advantage. So these days, that's changed, is what I'm hearing.
It's changed a lot. And then too, when you look at the actual hit to the bank because of the FDIC coverage, the individual banks, they weren't getting hit that hard. Their goal was to keep it moving and they were also making money every time one of those transactions sold. And so today, it's completely different. Now, if they're holding these properties and they're selling them, it is about their bottom line. I'm still working with a few banks on some of these older properties. And I mean, I've got a couple listings that they've been holding on to for 4 years. They're just waiting for the market to come back.
So if somebody's about to make an offer on a foreclosure or has questions, they can get a hold of you at realtalktwincities.com or 612-735-0553, right, Cheryl?
That's right. We're here. We'll help you maximize your gain, find the best investment out there, or we'll tell you it's not time to do anything.
That's right.
That could be true. So what about this tangle we should probably recap just a bit about the
Yeah.
tangle in Tangletown. I know we've talked about it. It's the third time we've brought it up on the show.
Right. Well, it's a continuing discussion about tear downs and historic preservation in some of the upper bracket neighborhoods. And this particular home, it was the head of the conservation for the Minnesota Historical Society. Her and her husband bought this 104-year-old home on a double lot from a couple that owned it for 42 years. When they were negotiating, the sellers told them that there were 2 property IDs and that the property could actually be split. So the buyers went to the city, they got a preliminary approval to tear down the house, and they were going to put up 2 structures and live in the other one. Well, the neighbors went crazy. The city, they let the neighborhood association know, and apparently there weren't letters sent out to all of the homeowners. And so once the permit was approved and they were getting ready to start, the homeowners found out, they were extremely upset. So they were able to get the city to put a stay on the demolition. Another thing that came out as this was going on is Macalester College had a right of first refusal on this property, which means the seller was never able to sell this property without getting approval from Macalester College first. But that document was never recorded on the property. So these are some of the things we've talked about with Uriah, our titan of
Title,
titles.
right.
So at any rate, she had hired a contractor. He went in, he was going to start the demolition, and there was actually some damage to the property because the pipes froze. XL had turned off the utilities. And bottom line, Macalester bought the property. They are now the owners of the property. The owners, they feel it was a horrible situation for them. They feel like they were harassed and disparaged, and they're happy to be done with this. They certainly lost money in this whole transaction. And what Macalester is going to do is repair the home, resell it with restrictions that it can never be torn down. So the question is, now as we're out there selling properties, and for our buyers, are there limits to property rights? And how do we know what they are?
How do you protect a potential buyer from a situation like this happening?
Right, and then too, with historic preservation, I mean, if a property isn't on the historic preservation list, you'd think that you're okay, but
Yeah, apparently not, based
Yeah.
on what happened in this neighborhood.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So you never know what can pop up.
no, you really don't.